Welcome everyone to the Fail Fast podcast. Today with us directly from Miami, Florida, we have a transformation coach, an holistic health and wellness expert. She's a meditation teacher, speaker, author, and she also is a fellow podcaster at the Thriver Lifestyle podcast. From Miami, Florida, like I said, Marian Bacol-Uba. How are you, Marian?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I'm excited to share my failing fast story.
Perfect. So I just went along and told everybody how you're a transformation coach, holistic health and wellness, meditation teacher, and all that. What does this mean for us that don't know?
So what I do, and it all kind of goes together, is I transformed my own life, started about 4 years ago, through holistic healing, health and wellness. So meditation, through different spiritual and holistic practices, changing my lifestyle, diet, my mindset. And this really came because of something that happened to me personally. So my whole career, I've always, been doing, I had a marketing agency, I worked in corporate, then I had my own company, and I always felt I had a double life. So growing up, I'm Asian American, and growing up, it's a culture where it's all about the image, right? You're not supposed to shame the family. You're not supposed to, talk about any deep issues. You're supposed to just get good grades, be obedient, and, follow the rules. Yeah. And so that was my life. I went to school, got good grades, went to college, did the corporate thing. And from the outside looking in, people probably would have thought wow, she has everything together. I had a great job at 27. Years ago, I was the marketing director for one of the largest Asian retail and grocery stores that was nationwide. I was a food writer, and I would, do food blogger, work with a lot of restaurants and chefs. I had a great social life. So from what you would think, right? On social media, everyone's oh, she's happy and perfect. But in reality, I actually suffered from severe PTSD. I was depressed. I was suicidal. I had an alcohol and drug abuse problem because of trauma from childhood sexual abuse that I just didn't address. Okay. I didn't take care of. So it manifested in different ways, and I tried to ignore that was an issue. And you just pretend that everything's good. And, at one point in my life, I couldn't even be by myself because I would be filled with so much anxiety or, and all that stuff. So I did the therapy, prescription, all that, but all that was really to numb it for me. It all just numbed it, and it was all a way to forget reality. And then I had a huge wake-up call when I was 28. I overdosed, and I nearly died. Wow. So and I had a near-death experience, and I actually was an out-of-body near-death experience, and I saw myself, I saw myself convulsing. I saw everything. I actually went to my funeral. I saw all of this, and I chose to come back. And I don't know why. I just knew that I did, and I had to do something drastic to change my life, or I would, be stuck in that same pattern of, pretending everything was okay, drinking all the time, and numbing everything. So I bought a one-way ticket, and I moved to Miami 4 years ago. So that was really, talk about failing. I had this amazing job, and people thought I had everything, and I basically dropped it all because I knew that if I stayed doing that same thing, I probably would have not been as lucky. I would have OD'd again, and I would have actually died. So I knew I had to do something different. I didn't know what. And so I basically bought a one-way ticket, moved here, and really had to start all over again. And so I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a job. So I went from being up here, having everything, to I ended up going back to bartending and serving tables. And for all, definitions of people, what they say successful, I went from a director position to serving tables. So for me, it was a very humbling experience, but totally necessary because, even my family called me like a failure. And I thought I was a failure too, because how did I leave everything, but I knew that I had to like save myself, personally and spiritually, because I felt like I wasn't in alignment with my soul and what I was doing. So when I came here, that's when I really started, my whole life I had tried to fix the issue with outside things, drugs, alcohol, working out, like things externally. And so for the first time in my life, I started going internally. So I started meditating a lot. And that's really what put me on this path.
And so who moved with you when you did that move to Miami? Was it just you?
Just me for the first few months. And I have a cousin that also moved with me who she was part of that old life, but also wanted a change, because when you're in LA and Hollywood, there's just parties and like, it's just, it just wasn't fulfilling anymore. It wasn't fun. It was just a downward spiral.
Okay.
And
family wise, I guess that was a big shock for the family. So when you did the move, were you at this point, did you have your family's support?
No, my family actually, they weren't very supportive, because they're like, what are you doing? You're crazy. You're leaving a stable job, doing all these things, right? These check boxes that you're supposed to be doing, Why are you throwing this all away? But I knew that it's something I had to do, because I knew I just, something in me, I was like, I needed to do this. So since then, I've really, like, since my own transformation and really changing my life, like completely changing my life. Like when I think about my old life, I'm just like in shock. But I knew that I needed to go through that, because now I can help other people, now I can help other people who've been through trauma, who are severely depressed, who have PTSD, if the prescription drugs, if all the things that aren't working for them still aren't working, there's another way. That's really where the meditation comes in, holistic healing, I'm plant-based. I'm
plant-based as well.
Yeah.
So I avoid telling people that it's vegan, because
that scares people for some reason. They're just like, oh my God.
That's exactly what I was going to say. People get scared, and I'm plant-based, and I wasn't always. I was a meat eater all my life. And,
same here.
And I'm Portuguese. I was born in Canada, but my parents are Portuguese. Mm-hmm. So I lived in Europe for 20 something years.
Yeah.
And the tradition in Portugal is something that I'm pretty sure you're aware of. It's a roasted full baby pig.
I'm Filipino, and same thing, lechon. It's a whole pig. Yeah.
Exact same thing, and the name is similar. It just has it's lechon, so lechon. Mm-hmm. And that was the hardest thing giving up. And I now am fully plant-based. The whole family is.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I know. It's more amazing is actually because 30-something years, or 40 in my case, I was completely meat eater, and then trying to find a menu, something. Mm-hmm. What am I going to cook? What are we going to make? That was the hard part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My life is completely different. I used to be so hopeless and frustrated. I would go for days without even getting out of bed because I was so depressed. I didn't know what to do with my life. And now it's so different. Like, I have such clarity. I have my purpose. I know that I'm here to help people, and it's because I went through that. And I know that there's another way than just drinking and drugging your way through it.
So tell me more about the out-of-body experience. This is something that actually fascinates me. So how real is what you're seeing? Is it like you're watching a movie, or is it like you're really in the room?
So I was on the couch, and I was like hovering over myself. And I saw everything happening. I saw my body. I saw my friends panicking. I saw what would have happened if I didn't come back. So I saw me seizuring. I saw them call the ambulance. I saw myself put in a body bag. I saw my funeral. I just all flashed, everything. And I went up to, call it whatever you want, heaven, bliss, the universe, the other side. And it was the most, it's words can't describe the feeling of like peace and bliss. But I was given a choice, you know, you can stay here or you can go back. And I felt that I just wasn't ready to go back. There was still something more I needed to, I didn't know what, but I just knew that I had to come back. And so I came back right before they called, you know, the ambulance to get me. And I came back into like my body and I felt it like crazy, but I can see it vividly. I remember all the details of everything that happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this was at a party in LA?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So moving to Miami, and I've been there just not too long ago. I was in Miami, and we both know how expensive it could be living in Miami. Did you have your reserve fund when you moved there, or was it just you? And
I had a little bit, but I went through a lot of that. And so I went back to, I was like, okay, I started picking up a few marketing clients here and there. And then I had to start serving and bartending again because I needed the extra cash because I had left everything. But I knew I was determined that like, I didn't know what I was going to do, like everything was, but it felt right. And my intuition has led me to so many amazing, the more I've trusted in it, like the more it's led me to just such amazing, like things have just been unfolding, like knowing like this is what I was meant to do, you know? And I know that there's so many others out there who feel lost, who feel frustrated, who feel hopeless, you know, because a lot of times I feel a lot of Western modalities of fixing a problem doesn't really go to the root cause. It goes to, you know, it patches it up.
Exactly.
But it doesn't look at you holistic. I mean, you have to think you're not just your body, you're your mind and your soul. Like everything fits together. What you eat, how you think, what you do, the environment, the people you're around, that all is a part of it. You know, we're all energy. And I feel it's catching up. You see a lot more people getting into like holistic health, and they're seeing that it's not just, you know, our bodies, it's our energy as well. You know, it's what we think. It's, you know, cutting off toxic relationships. It's changing our language and our thoughts, and it's all part of it.
Yeah, my mom is she's always been like that, and my mom has been vegan for a long time, and I never followed, and I never believed in what she believed in, the things that she could see, and it took me about 40 years to get into thinking like, wow, it's pretty, about who you surround yourself with. In Miami, do you select now who you're going to surround yourself with so you can, I guess, feel their positive energy?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I've become more sensitive to different energies as well. So one, if it's not, you know, and it's not where like it's, how do I explain this to people? Usually it's not that like, oh, I don't want to see, I just don't put myself in those situations where I know there's toxic people.
Yes.
I'm very selective with, and I can get a sense of how people are by their language and how they are, if, you know, the negativity in their language and things like that. So I'm an observer, you know, I observe a lot of people, and from how they react and how they interact with other people and the things they say, you can get a really good feel of how people's energies are. Yeah. So I just, you know, distance myself from people who I can feel are heavy, or, you know, because we're not out here we can't heal everyone. Everyone's going in their own journey. But if there's people willing to change and to heal, that's who I love working with, because they want to, but they just don't know how. And then there's people who just, you know, they can't. And I have family members who are very traditional and stuck in their ways. And, I can't force anyone to feel, they think I'm crazy. Like, what is this energy and dreams and seeing stuff? Like, so you can love people from afar. You don't always have to interact with them, especially, their family.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I was going to ask you that, do you try to fix people that you see that have a problem that they don't even know sometimes they have a problem? Do you try to fix everybody?
No, and that's not our role, to fix everyone. We can't fix everyone because there's people who don't even know that they need fixing. And who are we? We're all at different paths, at different journeys. So, you can't, and the more you try to fix them, people actually like back off. They're like, what are you trying to do? Like, why are you trying to fix me? No, they get very like defensive.
Absolutely. I live that, like I said, with my mom, and every time she would try to fix me, I didn't know there was anything wrong. So I kept pushing back, and it can create a barrier that is not healthy. Yeah. So.
Yeah. But what I've learned is that just by me living my life and being an example, it's actually, and people have seen the change in the past years and how I am and just the energy that I give off and the work that I'm doing, they start coming to you. They're like, you're doing something. Like, what are you doing? You used to be like this and now you're this, like, tell me, so I don't even have to do anything. I'm just living my life and helping people and sharing all of this, my practices. I share my meditations online. I post, inspirational things, and people pay attention, and they're like, they get curious when they see the results instead of you pushing at them, just leading by example. I really truly feel when you heal yourself, that's when other people can see it, and then that in turn helps heal others. But you can't force healing on someone who doesn't even know that they need to be healed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I was like that. If someone told me this years ago when I was still stuck in my crazy party days, I would have told them they were crazy and be like, you don't know me. I would be defensive. You don't know me. I'm fine. Everything's perfect.
Yeah.
So I wasn't ready. So.
Yeah, I was like that. And it would be, and actually from defensive to offensive, I could trigger just like that super quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I noticed we do have several things in common, and as you were a meat eater too, and then you mentioned you were blogging as well, and this was you're done that, or?
Yeah, I was a food. I ate a lot of meat. I was actually a food writer and a food blogger back in LA. But now I do write and I blog, but I write about conscious living, conscious lifestyle, plant-based eating. I blog about meditation. I write my recent article was about sexual abuse survivors and how you can help them with coping. That was an article I had on Elephant Journal. So my writing has changed to really reflect the conscious and holistic lifestyle that I lead now.
Very good. So recently, this is still very fresh in my mind, the Tony Robbins deal with the Me Too movement. And did you see all of that?
Yeah, I did. I'm back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually did. And what's funny is because I actually went to Date with Destiny with Tony Robbins 2 years ago. And I love his teachings. I love what he's talking about. And he has a quote that he said that still sticks with me that I heard at Date with Destiny. And it's, you can't take anyone to a place you've never been. And so because I've been through a lot of shadows and darkness, I'm able to help others. And I'm not defending him, and because I believe in the Me Too movement, but I think also I know what he was talking about the whole significance thing, because I think with any movement, when there's people who are, it's us against them, it creates friction.
Absolutely.
Right? And there's never like a one size, because there are people who have abused the Me Too movement, and they're crying wolf and they're saying this, and it's, so there's always two sides. I think it's amazing that we're bringing awareness to the issue, but there's also been people who've abused that issue as well, So
Yes.
I think to everything. Same thing with, I believe about the feminist movement, I don't always say like I'm a feminist. I believe in female rights and rights for women, but then there's people who end up just, I feel like, are bashing, we're not supposed to man hate or bash other people. We're supposed to help each other out. It's not an us, if you're not with us and you're against us. It's not how, I don't believe that's how it should. It's not black or white,
Yeah, that would be actually going against what you're trying to preach.
Exactly.
Being equal. Yes.
So I feel that's what's happening with the Me Too movement. People are like, oh, if you don't believe everything here, then you're against it. And I think because he said something more controversial, because there have been women who've used it for significance, who maybe lied and said someone did this or that, to me, even, who knows, it wasn't proved. I don't know. I think there's always two sides to every story.
That's correct.
But I think and each story is on its own. We can't group it all into one thing. So it's beautiful that the Me Too movement has brought awareness, because that's something that I'm very passionate about, as a survivor. I'm an advocate and I spread awareness, but I also know that we should be inclusive, not exclusive.
I agree.
Yeah.
So now let's talk a little bit about meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to learn it. And like I said, I had somebody in the family that was willing to teach. I wasn't willing to learn. And now I live 5,000 kilometers away. So how easy is it to learn how to meditate? Do you need actual lessons to learn?
I don't believe so, because we all have it within us. We don't need anything. We are the instrument, Mm-hmm. I think it's beautiful if you want to go to a class and do other things, but you could also meditate just on your own anywhere. And the key thing, and this is how I teach, it's not because you can't, because I used to be like this. I tried to force it. I was like, okay, I'm going to meditate 10 minutes because I'm an overachiever. I sit down and the noises get worse. It gets worse. And I'm like, you try too hard to concentrate, but it's more in relaxing. So the key is to focus on your breath. That's the first stage, is just your breath. So take a deep inhale in, deep. And when you inhale, visualize the air, the prana. So your breath is the gateway to your prana, which is your life force. So you breathe in, visualize it like expanding your stomach, your diaphragm. Mm-hmm. So fill it up when you inhale. And when you exhale, just really deplete, like suck, you contract your stomach and let all that air out.
Okay.
And just focus on it. So you can close your eyes and follow your breath. So inhale and exhale. And just do that in the beginning. Just focus on your breath. You don't have to dive into meditating for 5-10 minutes. Just do exercises focusing on your breath. So I approach it like a ladder. Instead of this big whole thing, you dissect it into smaller parts. Mm-hmm. So maybe just for every day for 1 minute, follow your breath. Maybe do 10 breaths, like conscious that you really follow it. And then you go on to 2 minutes and 3 and 4. And before you know it, it's about relaxing and just seeing thoughts, but letting them come and go, and it's really just the breath.
So they all come to you naturally. You're not forcing any of the thoughts.
No, you're not supposed to force, because then that's what creates anxiety in your head. So it's more just relaxing, letting it come and go, and just go back to following your breath.
Very good. I will try that. I joined a meetup group with people that meditate, and I haven't attended any yet. So I'm going to have to try on that.
Mm-hmm. So the way I teach is in steps. So I do breathing exercises,
Mm-hmm.
and I do a grounding exercise. So things that really bring you back to your body. And then I go into guided meditation. So I always tell people meditation, there's so many different ways to meditate, right? Just because one didn't work for you doesn't mean that all other. There's transcendental meditation, there's cyclical meditation, there's mantra meditation, there's yantra. There's so many different types. So find what works for you. There's sound meditations. And try different teachers. You know, some people, it's just like when you have teachers all through school, right? There's some that resonated with you and some that didn't. You just find what works for you.
How about location? Is that important? Where you are?
No, I mean, you should be able to meditate one of my teachers, my meditation teacher actually said, the best form of spirituality is living your life. So it's easy if you're in an ashram or you're in a temple because you don't have any noise, right? So it's easier to relax. But we have to be out in the real world. When you can bring that calmness to yourself, even on a busy street, everywhere you go, that's where the real practice comes in, right? When it's easy, of course it's easy. You know, when you have no distractions, no anything. But when you bring it to your real life, that's actually when you start seeing the benefits. So in traffic, when times that I encounter people that test my patience, I breathe, and I just go back into that place, and I can like relax and observe instead of be more reactive, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So do you find that it's super easy now to control yourself?
A lot than before.
Yeah.
So every day is different. I have a daily meditation practice. I meditate in the morning and in the evening, and I do breathing exercises all throughout my day. So and it's a practice, you know, every day. It's like anything that you do. It's a muscle, you know, it's like you just have to practice it. The more you practice, the easier it gets. I mean, there's days where I have more distractions in my head, but then for the most part, I can go back to that like calmness a lot easier than when I first started. So it's all practice.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So Marianne, I see that you're an author as well. So
Yeah.
You've written a book or several books, or?
So I'm writing, I've been featured it's called Miso for Life, and it's an anthology of different Asian writers. So I do have that published, but I'm working on my own full book. It's a memoir / self-help book talking about my own journey. It's called Survivor to Thriver. So that should be out by the end of this year. And it's broken up into 2 parts. The survivor part talks about how I grew up, the abuse, the drug problems, the drinking problems, everything before. It'll talk about, you know, my overdose, the near-death experience. And then the thriver part is really what I want to focus on. That's actually how I got inspired to start the podcast, because our past is important. We learn from it. We get strength from it, but it's not what defines us. It's what we do now that affects our present day and our future. So I wanted to focus on the now. Like, what can you do now to, you know, really conquer, and rewrite your story so that your past trauma doesn't haunt you. You know, how do you do that? And so that's the thriver part. I talk about meditation. I talk about my work with plant medicine. I talk about mindset exercises, journaling, affirmations, all of that stuff.
Very good. And is it easy for you to focus? How do you do your writing daily? Do you book a time to write?
So I actually do a lot of voice memos, and then I get that transcribed. Okay. Because oftentimes I get things that I'm not sitting or typing, so I'll write notes to myself. In the morning when I journal, I actually try to write a little bit in the morning, and then I do voice memos a lot. So it's just easier that way. Sometimes I'm out and I get like, oh, I need to write this, and I get that inspiration. So I do voice memos. So it's been really helpful.
What do you use for your voice memos?
Just my phone. Okay. The voice memo app, and then I have a VA that transcribes it for me.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
I write a bit too, and I've been booking like half an hour a day on my calendar, and it's going to be for writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's because it's booked or not. When it gets to that time, it's not my writing time. So I don't know if I was trying to figure out if I'm doing it wrong, because I have it, I believe at 10 o'clock at night, 10 to 10:30 is booked for that. It's not working out.
So maybe try, because there's times where I've like haven't felt the, or maybe I've gotten writer's block and I can't like, I had that dedicated time and I wasn't able to.
Yeah.
What I've done is something called automatic and intuitive writing. Have you heard of that?
No, I have not.
Automatic and intuitive writing. So what it is, so before I go to sleep, I have my journal that's always right next to me. I do prompts, like questions, maybe for like a certain chapter or whatever it is that I want to write, you know, because I break it up into small parts. And so I put questions, prompts for myself. I read it and then I go to sleep. And then right when I wake up, so it's like this golden hour, right when you wake up, before you do anything, it's like this window before your logical mind starts like, oh, you have to do this, this, that. Like, it's this like golden time, like this magical time. Just open your journal, read that, and just write. Don't think, just write. And you'll be inspired to just answer those questions, write those prompts, and it'll flow. So try that, because that's something that I've done. It's worked a lot for me.
I'm glad you touched on the golden time, because I set myself a golden time too, for time away from the phone, social media, and all that stuff. And I learned this with Jim Quick. He's a brain expert, and I don't know if you've heard of him. Yeah.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
And the first hour and the last hour of the day, he doesn't approve that people would go near their phones, because you will be in reaction mode. If you pick it up the phone the first hour of the day, you'll be in reaction mode, reading emails and then fixing other people's problems.
Yep.
So I've been following that, and and now, so it's my golden hour, the first and the last hour of the day, and I try to actually make it longer, as long as possible, getting away from that phone, which is an addiction. And do you have something like that as well for phones particularly?
Yeah, I actually I don't always sleep. Well, I don't sleep with my laptop in my room, so I try to put my phone actually outside. And in the morning before, and you know, there's times where I do check it, maybe like I have an appointment or something, but for the most part, I try to not look at my phone. So I do my morning practice first, my morning ritual, which involves drinking tea to get my like digestive fire started, to write in my journal. I do my meditation practice, and I light Palo Santo and incense every morning, and I kind of center myself and I get ready for my day, and then things can happen. But I take that time for myself, because I think when you take time for yourself and you feel energized and fulfilled, it just starts you off on the right foot for the rest of the day, you know?
What time does your day start at?
I've been working out in the mornings now. So I get up around like 5:30, 6 o'clock to start that, go get a workout in, and then start my day.
Very good. Very good. So we know that you help people that have problems, and the ones that want to be helped, I guess. So if our audience, people that actually want this help, how can they find you and get a hold of you?
So they can visit my website, marianbacol-uba.com. And I'm also on Instagram at mbacol-uba. But I'm actually launching my course that goes through this whole program, talking about changing your mindset, all that, pretty soon. So if anyone's interested or just has any questions, send me an email and we can just set up a call, and I'm more than happy to help them out, you know, because it has to be, I want people who also take action.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of times we have so much information, right? We read this, we listen to podcasts, we do all this, but yet nothing changes because we don't take the action. So knowledge, the whole thing, knowledge is power. I think knowledge without any action is useless, because then you just have all this knowledge. But knowledge plus action, implementation, that's when you see a shift.
Absolutely. That's the reason for this
Yeah.
Fail Fast podcast, is because a lot of people, they
Mm-hmm.
know what to do. They know what to do. And that's the hardest part, is knowing what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then they don't do
Mm-hmm.
it because they have fear of failing. And that's why I want to show that a lot of people that have failed
Mm-hmm.
and continue to fail and actually go and do
Mm-hmm.
something and become something or somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And like, obviously
Yeah.
I failed a lot, and obviously you failed, and it took you somewhere, and you've
Mm-hmm.
probably never been as happy as now. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's
It's all a learning lesson.
yeah.
Yeah, it's all a learning lesson. And for me, the best thing I ever did was invest in a mentor and a coach. Someone who's already done it, someone who can hold you accountable, you know, someone who will be like, okay, did you do this? Because a lot of times if no one, you know, says anything to anyone, you're like, okay, I'll do that later and later and later. But,
Yes.
you know, so that was the best thing. So that's why I think having a mentor or coach is helpful, because it's someone who will tell you, okay, you need to do this. Like, do you really want this or not? Or else it's just talk. So it keeps you accountable. So that's what I do for my clients. You know, they say they want it, okay, but are you willing to put the action? Because you can only give people the tools, but if they don't implement it, then you don't see any change.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll put a link. I'll put a link to your website, your Instagram, on the show notes,
Awesome.
and then just send me a message when your course is ready, and I'll add it to the show notes. There's a lot of people don't listen to it at the time of launch, so
Yeah.
we can do that.
Yeah.
So I also wanted to ask you. There's a lot of people that are you a reader? Are you a book reader?
All the time. Yes. I'm an avid book reader. I have like 3 books that I'm reading at a time.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of people have books that have changed their lives, and when they read something, that they always refer back to that book. Do you have one of those?
I do. One of the books that really changed my life is The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle.
Okay.
And it talks about the present moment, the now. So most people don't actually live in the now, in the present moment, where we usually live in the past or the future, because most of the time we're in our heads, right?
Yes.
So when you're in your head, you're thinking about the past. Oh, you're either filled with regret, shame, anger, because you're thinking about something that happened. Or you're thinking about the future and you feel overwhelmed, you're anxious, something's going to happen, you're worried. But when you actually are in the now at this present moment, and that's why I love meditation, because it brings you to this present moment, everything's actually beautiful and okay. Most of the time it's all in our head, our minds, you know, our thoughts that drive us crazy.
It is, absolutely it is.
Yeah.
Yes, I got to look into that one. Right.
Yeah. It's an amazing book. Amazing book.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, Marianne, if there's one thing that you want people listening to, if there's one thing you want them to remember, what would that be?
They always have a choice. You always have a choice. And it was when I decided to change my life and took accountability that I was the only one that can change it. That's when shifts started happening. So everyone who's listening, like, you have to take control of your life. You know, you are the creator of your life. So your choices matter. So, and we're actually so powerful. We just don't give it, you know, people don't realize how powerful they are, that they always have a choice.
Oh, I know that now, but I was one of those that I doubted everything. Doubted everything, and I don't have a specific reason for why it changed, why I suddenly but it happened, and I'm just embracing it, right?
Yeah.
Well, Marianne, thank you so much for coming to the interview.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope we'll stay in touch. And,
yeah.
And then let me know. I'll send you I'll send you a message when the podcast goes live, so you can check it out.
Sure. Yeah, let me know if there's anything that I can post up, the links, everything, so I can share it with my audience.
I will for sure.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then again, send us the link when you have your course ready, and we'll share that as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.